Good morning to everyone. Today we are going to discuss the topic about Java programming. Okay, first we are know about the history of Java. Java is one of the object-oriented programming developed by James Gosling at 1990. Initially, he named it as a OK language. Then after that, the Sun Microsystem took the Java programming and named it as a Java in 1995. So initially, the Java program we used to develop for the embedded system, which used to develop the embedded version and used to do consumer electronic products. For that purpose only, they developed the Java program. James Gosling and their group members, 4 members, developed the Java program. Later, it took by the Sun Microsystem. Sun Microsystem, which is used by the Oracle systems. Then, what are the features of Java program? First, it's a simple, smaller, and familiar language. Java is one of the contains a OOPS concept, that is object-oriented programming system concept, which is a simple when we compare with the C and C++ language, it's a simple language. It does not use for any memory allocation, that is malloc, free alloc operators. Then it doesn't use any method overriding. Some type of tedious functions are reduced in the Java programming. So we can say Java is a simple language when compared with the C and C++. Then second one is it's a compile and interrupted. What is called as a compile and interrupt? When we write the source code, that is source code is written by the human readable language English. Java compiles it, that is on JVM is available there, that is called as a Java virtual machine. It compile our source code into bytecode. The bytecode is nothing, it's an intermediate language between the machine language and human readable language. When we converted you to the bytecode, the compiler then interrupted compile again it modified the bytecode into the machine code, which needed to understand by the Java, which need to understand by the system to generate some code. So we can say it's a compiled and interrupted code. Then the next one is object oriented. Basically, Java is a OOPS concept. It contains the properties of classes and object. What is called as a class and object? The object used to represent the real world projects, that is real world object, that is runtime environment. The objects are the combination of objects are combined together in the classes. Then it's a platform independent and portable. One of the main advantage of Java is it's a platform independent, that we can write once and we can run it anywhere. For example, we can write in the Windows OS, Apple, or anything, any programming platform we can run it, we can write it and we can also run it. Then it's a robust and secure. Java is highly secured language where the code is written. Then it's a multi-threading and interactive. Java support the multi-simultaneous process. It allowed to work multiple access simultaneously and it's perform high performance. Java provide just in time, within a time it compile the source human generated source code into the bytecode and bytecode to machine code. Just in time it perform everything. So we can say Java is a high performance language. Another one is dynamic. It can able to dynamically link the library file for the corresponding programs. So these are some of the main features of Java programming. Then what is the basic of Java environment? Whenever we want to write the Java program, we have to undergo the 5 phases. What is the 5 phases? The first phase is edit phase. What is called as edit? Here where the programmer want to write the source code. That is the program code contains the program code written by the user is known as a editable. That is the program writes the program. Then next one is compiler. What is called as a compiler? There is a JVM is available in the Java, that is called as a Java virtual machine, which compiles the human source code into a bytecode. What is called as a bytecode? I already told bytecode is an intermediate code. Either it contains the machine language, either it contains the combination of machine language and human readable language. The compiler compiles into a bytecode. Once it compiled by the JVM, it loaded into the memory using the class loader clause. Then the corresponding bytecode is loaded into the class memory. Verified. The bytecodes are verified whether they satisfy the Java security requirements. Once it's verified, then the corresponding code is executed. The interpreter translates the bytecode into machine language which used to execute a particular Java program. We can see this is the 5 phases of the Java programming. The first one is editor. This whether the programmer write the Java program with, need to write the Java program and save the particular program with the .java extension. Once they done it, then they have to go for compiling process. The compiler automatically compiles the Java program into a class file. Once the Java program is successfully compiled, then automatically the class file is created. Inside the class file, we can see the bytecode for the corresponding source program. Bytecode is the intermediate code which contains the combination of machine language and the user specified language. Once it is done means then the corresponding class file loaded into the main memory using the class loader function. For example, whenever we done a Java program, we need to first save it with the .java extension. Once we save it means after we have need to compile it. Once the compilation is done successfully, the .class file is created automatically. The corresponding .class file will be loaded to the primary memory using the class loader function. Once the class loader load the functions to the primary memory, then there is a bytecode verifier is available. It checks whether it satisfies all the security features of the Java program. You see, bytecode verifier confirms that the bytecode are valid and do not violate the Java security restriction. Once it done means then the interpreter convert the bytecode into machine readable language. So understandable possible within the program which used to execute the particular program. These are the 5 phrases used to run a single Java program. See, now we are going to see about OOPS. Everyone saying Java is a OOPS concept, OOPS concept. Now we are going to see what are the concepts coming under the OOP. The first one is object and class. What is called object? The object is the object represents the real world entity. For example, any entity is called as an object. For example, we can say mango, apple, orange. These are called as an object. What is the class means? The class generally the object can contain the data and code to manipulate the particular data. So the object is to represent the real world entity which contains the data and code to manipulate the particular data. Then the class is a type of data which is specified by the user. For example, we can say apple, orange, mango are the objects. These objects belong to the particular class fruits. So we can differentiate the object and the class. Object used to represent the real world entity. The class is a user defined variable which contains all the details contains all the code, all the method inside the particular class. So the class, we can say the class is a data type which is specified by the user and the object is a variable for the data type. I already told an example, apple, orange, all apple, orange, grapes are called as objects. Each separate thing is called as an object, and a collection of that object in the class I can specify the name as a fruits. For example, class fruits is a class user defined data type. The apple, orange, mango are belonging to the particular fruit. So these are called as the object. This is the difference between the class and object. The next thing is data encapsulation. What is called encapsulation? The encapsulation is known as a data hiding. For example, in medicine there is a capsule which contains all the medical properties in a single capsule. The same thing, the data encapsulation contains all the data and method in a single unit. This is known as a encapsulation. The encapsulation ensures a data hiding, that is, entire objects and methods are combined in a single unit and it placed in one place. So this is called as encapsulation. The next one is called as inheritance. So what is called as inheritance? A single object inherits all the properties of some other class. That is called inheritance. In inheritance process, one class inherits all the properties of another class. I can say an example. For example, the child inherits their parents' properties either from father or mother or combination of both father and mother. So we can say class child inherits the properties of class parent, father and class mother. So the one class inherits the properties of two or more classes. This is called inheritance. What is the main usage of inheritance? It used for code reusability. Then polymorphism. What is called as a polymorphism means polymorphism has an ability to take more than one form. depends upon the situation. For example, I am saying if I am giving two integers number, you have to add it mean, for example 5 plus 7 means I am adding 5 plus 7, the corresponding value is 30, like that you are saying. If I am asked to add two strings means what will you do? Dinesh Kumar means you are concatenating two strings. So the adding is take different behavior depends upon the situation. The polymorphism done this in a very well way. The polymorphism further we can use in a method overriding and method overloading. What is called as a method where the polymorphism applied in the method overload. In compile time method overloading time the polymorphism works well. At the same time the runtime polymorphism, the method overriding is works well using the polymorphism. It works depends upon the arguments, depends upon the situation, depends upon the behavior of the method. This is the usage of polymorphism. The next one is dynamic binding. What is called as a dynamic binding is the code associated with the procedure is not known until it called. Whenever we call the particular method, that time the procedure will be one code. So it's called as a dynamic binding. It's also known as associated with polymorphism and inheritance. The next one is message communication. What is called as a message communication is object communicates with each other by sending and receiving the messages. See, sending object communicate with the receiving object by sending some messages. See, here is an example. Employee, salary, name. Employee is an object, salary is a method which pass the argument as a name. So the message communication between each object by sending the messages. This is known as a message communication. Then these are the concepts used in the OOPs. Then what are the advantages of OOP concept is it is used to eliminate the redundant code. And it's also extend the use of existing class. This is achieved by using the inheritance. As I told you earlier, using the inheritance concept, one class can inherit the property of other class. Means there is no need to again and again we have to write the each and every class separately. We just extend the class to the inherited class from the base class. This is so we can no need to again and again write the code again. So this is the achieve the code reusability. Once you reuse the code again and again, it has the property to save time and it produce the higher productivity. Then the data hiding procedure. The data hiding is done by achieved by the encapsulation. So according to the encapsulation concept, all the methods and data are combined in a single unit. So the data hiding is achieved to provide the secure program. What is the next one is, it is easy to partition the work into project based object. Based on the object we can divide the work for each and everything. The system is easily able to upgrade for small and large system. Software is easy to handle. These are the some of the features of some of the advantage of OOPs concept. Then we are going to discuss how we are going to able to write a simple Java program. The first one is Java source code. What is called source code? The source code is a human writable, written by the human in an English language. This is called as a source code. Then once we wrote the source code, the Java compiler use the JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine to compile the code. It takes two categories, whether it's application type or whether it's an applet type. If it is an application type, it uses the Java interpreter. In Java compiler, what is going to happen is the source code is compiled to bytecode. Once it's compiled into bytecode means Java interpreter convert the bytecode into machine code. Once it's done means it execute the output. So if it is an applet type, it use the Java enabled browser to get the output. Then this is the example first Java program. See, this is a simple Java program written between the command line. Whenever we give the statement like this between these two symbols means the compiler won't accept this. This is for the instruction to the human beings. The first thing is class. Class is a keyword. Whenever we write to start our Java program, we have to mention the class. It's a keyword. Then you have to give a class name. The class name has to be supplied by the user, which is a meaningful way. Here this is our first example. So they given as a class example. Then you have to open a bracket. Then you have to put a main function, public static void main, open string argument.
What this says, this is the main function declared with the public. It's access to the throughout the program, so we declared as a public. Then the string you used to consider the string array of arguments. Then we have to open again bracket the message system.out.println. The system.out.println is a predefined library file. The system used to provide the input output to the user. So the out is a class of the system. The println is a class for the object. Then you have to open the bracket. Whatever the message has to come, you have to put it in the double quotes, and it has to terminate the semicolon. This term semicolon says this line is over. Go for next line. Then you have to close the corresponding open bracket and close bracket. Once you done this, once you write it in the Java program in your notepad or any other editor, you have to save your Java program, whatever you put it in the class name. For example, here class is an example. So you have to save your program in like example.java. See, why here we are using the public. The main must be declared with the public. The static is required main because it's created without any object. So string arguments specify the array of strings in the particular class. Java is a case sensitive. Whenever we wrote the program, we have to, Java is a case sensitive, so string and yes, you have to put it in a caps. So if you miss it, it will show some error message, it won't accept. This is a predefined library files. We have to specify as it is in the library files. Okay, system is a predefined class, refer to the system. It's a basis from system. The out is a static data member of the system class. The println is a member of object. So whenever we want to write the output, whatever you want to display as output, you have to mention system.out.println. Okay. Then once you done this, once you write the source code mean, then you have to implement the program. To implement, what are the procedures available is, first you have to create a Java program, that is source code written by the user. Once you done this means, you have to save your file with .java extension. It is must, this .java extension going to say this is a Java program which you are going to compile and run it. Then if the program contains the multiple classes, so this is one, once you done it, you have to save it with .java extension. Once you create the Java program, then you have to compile the Java program using where you store the Java program, you have to mention it. Then you have to specify either it may be you save it C drive or D drive it. You have to specify the corresponding drive and you have to put the Java C. This specifies executing the Java compiler, that is Java C file name .java. What's your file name in your first program? Example. So you have to put example.java. If you put in the example, if you put Java is a case sensitive. If you put the E in a small letter means you have to mention an example in small. Once you done this means the compiler change your source code into bytecode. See, once the compiler once you run successfully compile means the class file will be created with the .class extension which contains the bytecode for the source program, the class C. Each file with the class C extension contains a bytecode corresponding to that class. Whenever we open, we can able to see the class file in the corresponding directories. If the program is compiled successful, we can see the class files with the .class extension. Once you done this mean, then you have to run the program. To run the program, you have to specify Java example, that is Java file. Once your program is successfully compiled or there is no error means, you can got the output. This is the 3 simple procedure to run that simple Java program. See the same program. Okay. Once you know how to print this, in the previous example we only just printing the statement. This is my simple Java program. If you want to do some calculations, some basic operations, if you want to use some control statement, you need to enhance your program skill. To do this, first you have to know about data types. Data type, what is called as a data type? Data type specify the type of data. Okay, for example, there are different types of data available in nowadays. The data may be integer, it may be in the integers may be in decimal point or whole numbers, or it may be in a character form, or it may be in the boolean, in string, anything. The data may be have different types of data available. To segregate, to classify them, each data they are mentioned, each data has to be grouped in a certain types, that is called as a data type. Here the data types are defined in the following ways. There is 8 primitive data types are available in the Java. The first to represent this whole value signed numbers, there is 4 data types available: byte, short, int, long. These all are belongs to specify the whole numbers. For numbers you need to know what are the data types available in Java is byte, short, int and long. Then another thing is floating point numbers. To represent the floating point numbers, there is 2 types of data types available: float and double. Nothing but the data type specify the type of data. The another term is character data types are represented by char, and one of the boolean data type used to represent the true or false values. These 8 data types are known as the 8 keywords used in the Java programming language to specify their type of data. See, we can see the storage size of each and every data. For example, byte can able to store only 8 bit of information. Short can able to store 16 bit of information. Int able to store 32 bits. The same time long 64. Float can able to store 32 bits. Double can able to store 64 bits. Here they are specifying the minimum value and their maximum storage value. See, these are the integer data type which used to hold the integer, and these data type these 6 data types are used to store the whole numbers and decimal values. The one more data type is available, that is called as a character data type. The character data type used the Unicode to represent the character in the Java programming language. The character data type used 16-bit values stored to ranging from 0 to 65536. The access range starts from 0 to 127. Here there is a sample program C class name test, which is specified by the user. Then they open the bracket, they mention public static void main with string argument. Here the main function you are not, for the main function they are declared with the public. The main function doesn't contain any object, so they declared with the static. The string argument can represent the array of object. Then you have to open the bracket. Here the variables are declared ch1, ch2 with the character data type. See, this is the character data type, contains 2 variables ch1 and ch2. I am going in the further section, I am going to discuss about what is called the variable. See, for the variable ch1 contains the value as a 88, then value ch2 contains the value as a y. Then printing the statement system.out.println, whatever we put it in the double quotes, it will be automatically visible here, then ch1, then ch2. Okay, the 88, according to ANSI code, there are 0 to 127 character represent the numbers, hexadecimal values, symbols and capital alphabet, small alphabet. According to the 88, it specifies the value of x, and then y specify, automatically they give a y as a character. So it will be automatically specified. So there is some values 0 to 127 represent the alphabetic in uppercase and lowercase, at the same time 0 to 9 and some hexadecimal symbols. So they are specifying in a numeric way. Then another one is boolean data type. The boolean data type size is 1 bit. It used to store the true or false. It check the condition. If the condition is true, it has to execute the corresponding statement. If the condition is false, it has to execute the corresponding statement. So boolean data type store true or false value. Here this is an example. They declare the variable boolean b. What is the value for the b? B is true. Here they are writing the 2 conditions. The first one is system.out.println b is b. What may be the result? B is, what is the value stored in b? True. What is the second statement? System.out.println, there is a condition, if 10 is greater than 9, this is the module. If whatever we give it in the double quotes, it will be executed here. It won't check the condition here if it is in the double quote. The condition is going to check it here. There is a general syntax. Whenever we store some values in the B, if you want to specify the variable and the output mean, you have to put one plus symbol and then corresponding variable name. Okay. Here they are going to check the condition whether 10 is greater than B. If it is true means it explains it true. If the condition is false means it returns false. This is the example for Boolean data type. In the previous examples I told variables. For example, in the character program I specify char ch1 ch2. In Boolean data type I specify Boolean b. What is called variable? The variable is a name for location in memory. The variable is nothing. It used to hold some values with the corresponding data type. Okay, the variable used to hold some values with the corresponding data type. How we have to declare the variable is, there is the syntax for variable declaration: type, identifier, value. What is the type specified? The type specified the corresponding data type. Either it may be int, float, double, or it may be character, boolean. The identifier specify the name to the corresponding data type. For example, I can give A, B, C. It's a user supplied, but so this is specified as the identifier. For the identifier, we have to give the corresponding value. A is equal to 10. In the previous example, we saw B is equal to boolean, B is equal to true. Okay, this is the variable. The one more thing, that when we declare the identifier, when we declare the variable, there is some rules. What are the rules is, the variable must, we all know Java is a case sensitive, so we have to carefully give the meaningful name for the variable. What is the second thing is, the variable has to don't start with the special characters. It has to start with the alpha. We can give it the variable name with the alphanumeric combination. It won't start with the special symbols, dollar symbols, and all. So these are the some rules whenever we declare the variable. So we all know what is variable and what is data type. Whenever we declare the data type, it has contained some variables. What is variable? Each and every variable used to do to store some value with corresponding data type. Here the last section is the scope and the lifetime of the variable. Whenever we declare the variable inside the curly braces, means the variable scope will be available, but inside the scope only they will available. See, here is an example. I declared the variable x. It's a user specified variable with the value. It holds the value as a 10 with integer data type. This is the general syntax to declare the variable. Here they are checking the one condition: if x equal to 10. What is they are checking the condition? If the variable x is equal to 10, then they are giving one more condition into y. See, this x is declared outside of this loop. Int y is equal to 20. They are going to print system.out.println x and y. That is, they are going to add x and y. See, x plus y. What may be the output? At this time, it stores the value x is at 10 and it gives some space and then y value. Then they are multiplying x is equal to y into 2. Then they close this scope. Okay, whenever they close this scope, up to this the y's usage is over. Outside of these two curly braces, the y can't able to work. This is the scope of the variable. The variable can able to work within this open and close bracket. In the x case, the variable is declared outside of this inner loop. So it's declared is outside. It can be able to use outside. See, here they use the y into 2 value multiplication. Y is equal to 100. If they use the y value outside of the scope, it shows the error message. But the system.out.println we can able to print the x because the x is outside of the scope. This is the scope of the variable. Okay, in today's class we seen about what is Java, history of Java, then OOPS concept, then we are learned about the different types of data types available in the Java. Then we learned about the variable. The one more thing, how this simple Java program is compiled and execute. What are the steps available to compile and execute the particular program.